One of the agents that I knew, he took the bag and he turned to me and he said, "Don, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Hill." And remember that, you think back to when you were that age, my mind was always on food. It was really nothing much else. And so I just went like, "Hi, how are you?" and shook hands with him. And then my friend, the agent, said to me, "Hey, idiot, don't you know who that is?" I said, "No." He goes, "That's Clint Hill." I was speechless. Clint Hill was the first genuine American hero I ever met. I have never known anyone in my life who ever out-heroed Clint Hill. As many of you will remember, on November 22nd, 1963, Special Agent Hill of the United States Secret Service was assigned to protect First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy. He was in a backup car directly behind the limousine carrying President and Mrs. Kennedy and Texas Governor and Mrs. John Connally. When the first shot was fired, Mr. Hill jumped off the running board of the moving Secret Service vehicle, ran to the president's car even as it accelerated, and stepped on the bumper, climbed over the trunk, and threw himself over Mrs. Kennedy and the president, who sadly, tragically, had already been fatally shot. And Mr. Hill did this in a matter of seconds. So for those who grew up in the shadows of that horrible day, Clint Hill's bravery is an indelible part of our collective memories. When I met him in the summer of 1973, he had been promoted to be Assistant Director of the Secret Service. I turned around and I walked back, and I extended my hand a second time, and with very deep respect, I said, "It is a great honor to meet you, sir," and it was one of the great honors of my life. Now, although I didn't appreciate it for quite some time, history was becoming something that was a lot more than just an academic endeavor. I was not only meeting the people who were making history, but people who had made history. Not long after that, I ran into John Connally in the West Wing elevator. He had been seated, as most of you know, in front of President Kennedy when the shots were fired, and the wounds that he sustained that day were part of the Warren Commission's still debated magic bullet theory. So with John Connally and Clint Hill, I had then met two men who had been inside the presidential car on that dark, horrible Friday in 1963. It still gives me shivers today to think about that.